All right. Aloha and mahalo for joining me. I'm Janet and welcome back to my channel. I'm doing a live interview. Well, it's live now, but I have a new friend of mine and her name is Myra Shindo and I absolutely love her. She just has this really pleasant, don't make your face like that. This is so true. Like, you know how we don't think about ourselves like that and other people notice it, but she just is so happy-go-lucky and she's very kind and loving. And first time I met her, I thought, I have to interview her. She's awesome when she told me her story. So without further ado, I want you, Myra, to go ahead and tell us about yourself and your journey and and then we'll just kind of just talk story and see, you know, what you're up to.
Thank you, Janet. It's so nice to be here. At first, I thought, why would she want to interview me? But I'm like, well, I'm actually honored in that sense as well, because I feel like, I mean, for me, it's like everyday life, I just live life and I just go by not how I feel, but I guess what feels right for me at the moment. Um, And so I know when I first met you, and it was at St. Francis at the care camp that Kawi and I had brought together careys and caregivers just to have some self-care for themselves and a special time for them to bond. And so meeting you there, I thought, oh, this person is so nice and so sweet. And then little did I know she was going to be asking me these questions. But when we talked about what I did before St. Francis, and I said that I was a preschool teacher, everyone was like, oh my gosh, and it's, full circle,
Well, we
because
were surprised because you were in a care facility for elder people. But then when you told me you were a preschool teacher, I was like, wow, that's a big switch.
yeah. And so being a preschool teacher, I really enjoyed it. I That was actually one of my first jobs coming out of high school. And so, I love the kids, the little ones, the things that they would say. So I thought, oh, I think I really like this field. And the kids gave you hugs every day.
Hmm.
They're just so happy, except when they were leaving their parents, they were kind of sad. But throughout the day, after they stopped their crying and they went through their day, they were just so happy. And I thought, oh, okay, I think I can do this. I like this age group. So that's what I went to school for. And I thought, oh, I'll just retire preschool teacher when I'm old. And I thought, "Oh, that's gonna be my life. And yeah, I've been in that field for over 20 years. I think I started in I started in 1995 as an
Wow.
assistant, worked my way up. So it's been a journey. My current other half is like, um, when we first met, he goes, "Oh, so you're a preschool teacher?" And I said, "Yeah." So it was kind of a joke between us after a while that, well, maybe because I missed out on my own preschool days because I didn't get to go to preschool. And so,
Mm,
with my parents being in the military, we traveled a lot. So I stayed home with my mom in my early years. So going to
yeah.
preschool was very new, I guess, for me being a child. So um, when I met my other half, he goes, "Oh, so that's why you're a preschool teacher. You're getting all what you missed out when you were younger."
Yeah.
So
I,
I
I
thought,
think preschool teachers have the most patience because preschoolers, they have boundless energy. They just keep bouncing and they don't stop all day long. I
"Well,
think
they
you
have nap
folks,
time."
that's true, but then they have more energy after they take a nap and,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. So then I went back to school, maybe after 15 years or so in the field. And then I thought, okay, I'll get my bachelor's in early childhood. And then my brother had passed away. And so he had committed suicide. And so at the time, I thought, oh, well, maybe I should switch over to psychology, thinking, maybe I can help other people. It was
Mhm.
already to the point where even in the classroom, bringing the families together and bridging the gap from home and school,
Yeah.
we're already helping the families too. So I thought there must be something more to just being a preschool teacher. Um, and so I ended up going into psychology,
Yeah.
and I thought about like therapy, counseling. But then I came across life coaching. And so for me, life coaching is just, I love how, people have the answer within themselves and they can figure out the solution for their own challenges or problems that they're having just by me asking certain questions to,
Yeah.
just kind of poke and figure out, okay, what's going on here, And so it's one of the things that I found that I really enjoyed. Um, and so I kind of stuck with it. So I ended up getting my bachelor's in social sciences, psychology, and then I got my master's in psychology of life coaching. So
Wow.
yeah. So it's
That's
been a journey,
awesome.
been a journey. Um, and now I um, have been certified in forgiveness work. So, of course, the things that we need to let go that no longer serve us. And so, a lot of that has come into play even in my own life. I started to notice patterns um, in my own life that I kept repeating. And I'm like, wait a minute here. And so it made me do a lot of reflection. And that's what I love about coaching, right? Because coaching takes you where you are presently and it helps you for a more desired future. And so, with that being said, a lot of times too, people will kind of bring back or bring up the past. And again, that's what happened in the past, but yet we're still bringing it into the present. And so
Hmm.
it is a lot of kind of reflection and looking back, but then also moving forward. Yeah. With this
Yeah.
forgiveness work.
I love that. Yeah. I've experienced coaching um many like 13 years ago, and I think that's the best thing is because sometimes we need somebody to kind of really help us see our blind spots or see what we're not seeing and see what these patterns are, even though we know like okay, something's not right, but so we need wonderful people like you. Yeah. No, seriously. I love it. I just love that we can help each other nowadays. It's and there's no stigma in coaching, but when you say, "Oh, I'm going to the psychologist or a psychiatrist," people feel a little bit more embarrassed. And yes, there are people that need that, but now it's more accepted. Like, yeah, I need that and it's helping me. So what you're doing is a really good thing. Yeah. So tell us about this forgiveness program that you took and that now that you're doing that for yourself and why it resonated with you.
Well, I first learned about the forgiveness work through Dr. Fred Luskin, the co-founder of the Stanford University Forgiveness Project. And so he came over, and at the time I was working at KKV, which is Kokua Kalihi Valley, and he came over and talked about forgiveness. And so the lady I remember, and usually I don't go up to people after presentations. I'm pretty shy and introverted, so I don't like to really go talk to people, but I actually went and approached her, and her name was Susan Ford, and she's now one of my mentors. And I said, I'm really interested in learning about this work, but outside of my time at KKV. And she looked at me and she goes, "Oh, okay." And then from there I called her and then we met at Zippy's, and she's probably thinking, why is this girl calling me? Because she does this for the state of Hawaii. They had a program and they had a grant to do the forgiveness work there. And so
Mhm.
I said, okay. And she let me come into one of the cohorts. And I remember the first time I went, I thought, oh, I'm pretty forgiving. I think this, but I looked at it with a lot of curiosity. And when I went through it, the first class or the first session, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do this. I didn't even want to show up for the second class. And then I thought, no, you know what? There's a reason why I'm taking this.
Mhm.
So, of course, the first session kind of makes you look at the uglies and the not so pretty things, right? And then
Mhm.
I started to think about it, and then I was like, no, I'm just gonna go. And after that second session, um, I was really happy that I did go back. I mean, there are a lot of moments that you're laughing and you can kind of look at yourself in a sense that, oh my gosh, I was really thinking like that. But it helps you through that process of letting go and healing for your own inner peace, right? Because forgiveness is for yourself, it's not for the other person. And so, thinking about that whole process, I realized, oh, I had a lot to learn about forgiveness because what I had thought previously was really not. And I had a false sense of forgiveness a lot of
Which
my
is
life.
common. Yeah. Yeah. I think I had that before too. It's like,
Yeah.
no, I know how to forgive. I forgive. And then really you're not.
Right. And so, and since then I haven't looked back, and I've been a facilitator, I think, for the past 3 or 4 years now. And, with COVID happening and
Mm.
helping people let things go, it's made a lot of people that I've talked to, it has really worked for them as well. So I know, with all Dr. Luskin's work, um, and again, Rosen, he was also part of that project, and Lyndon Harris. So those guys are my mentors as well. I love them to death. They're so wonderful. Um, and so even with that being said, having these mentors behind me and the evidence, that they did the research, they've done all of the work, and me being a product of going through it, because I had a lot of health issues too with the stress. I had migraines all the time, vertigo, and so,
Oh,
those health elements subsided. Don't get me wrong, I still get headaches, but it's probably because I didn't drink enough water, but it's not due
right.
to stress, right? So, yeah. And looking at how my life has changed since then, it's been a lot better. And people around me have noticed it too. Yeah.
Well, that's great. I mean, so when you actually went to this program, was in the beginning, was it a group of people
Mhm.
there, your first couple of sessions? And
So there's
oh,
about 10 people. Yeah.
oh, nice. It must have been fun getting to know people and realizing, oh, okay, I'm not the only one with this problem. There's people who
Right.
also have the need to learn about forgiving. Yeah. Oh, I love that. But
Yeah.
then there's more to this forgiving story I want you to tell because you had mentioned a little bit about family, right? Family is one of those situations or dynamics that they can put us through craziness and they make us crazy while we allow ourselves to get crazy, right? But there's things that happen in a family. Every single family I know that I've ever met all have something going on. And, it creates problems for when you grow up because you don't realize that you've held something in your heart and it's hard to forgive and just let it go because sometimes, they still cause problems even as adults and they still have that cycle going on. So,
Right.
is there anything you can share? And also, I would love for you to share any um thing that's not too personal for one of your clients that you've had, like, what they've experienced coaching with you.
Okay. Okay. So for me, when I first started to, I wanted to really learn the skills first. So I kind of took something that was like an everyday kind of complaint where I thought, okay, this is still bothering me, right? Because again, when we think about it, it's something that in our lives happened that we didn't want to happen, right? And then we still think about it a lot,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so because of that, that is one of the things that come into play where this is part of that forgiveness process, right? first something happened that you didn't want to happen in your life, and the second one is you're constantly thinking about it, or you think about it often, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably day after day you're thinking about it. And so I kind of thought about just the daily things, arguments with the other half, or you know conversations that I've had with family members that kind of bothered me in the past. So things like that, I kind of took that into consideration. And as I started learning the skills and being more proactive in the work, I started to dig a little bit deeper. And so when I started to do that, the it's just amazing how you feel after you have that inner peace, because it gets so much lifted off of you.
Mm-hmm.
And so even the practice of knowing that, okay, my brother had committed suicide. And that was a whole nother issue, right, for me, because I felt
Mm-hmm.
bad, I was angry, why did you have to leave me here?
Yeah.
And it was only the two of us, right? So I'm like, now I have to deal with mom and dad by myself, like, and
Hey, that's valid.
and then and
Sometimes it's hard dealing with parents.
then I thought, oh, and then I felt bad, like, oh, maybe because I wasn't there for him.
Mm,
And growing up, we were key latch kids. So a lot of it fell on me to be responsible for him. And so it's like,
yeah.
after having to have that responsibility, and then, people are like, but Myra, you're like only like 9, 10, when you started to take care of him in that sense. And I'm like, yeah, but then again, back then it's so different from what it is now.
Oh, yeah. So you're the older sister.
Yeah. And so again, I had to deal with
Yeah.
those feelings of guilt, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, but it was after, going through that process and having to sit there, right? Sitting there with the yuckies and feeling the uncomfortable, you
Yeah.
go through the skills, and then you're like, okay, and again, your story changes, or it evolves into something more that, hey, that's, looking at it from a different perspective, or even our own mindset, changes or evolves into something that is more positive and
Mhm.
we have gratitude for. And when we start to focus on more of those things in our life, the rest kind of diminish. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. So before you share any story from a previous client, share why like letting go and forgiving is important for us and how it's not for the other person.
Right. So again, who's the one carrying the weight of it? Right. When we think about, the situation that we're
Yeah.
in.
Because what if somebody did something really horrible to us?
Right.
Like I know a lot of people, a lot of women who have suffered child abuse as children. So how are they supposed to let go of that? Because what they've told me is that, well, if they forgive, then this person is going to get off scot-free and, get away with what they did.
Right.
So,
Yeah. And thinking about that too, it's, when they're, again, who's the one carrying the weight of that, right? The
mhm,
person who hurt them, I mean, maybe, they're not even thinking about it, but again,
mhm,
who's the one holding it, right? So again, this is for your inner peace, not theirs, because they
right.
probably don't even remember, or they don't even care, or not that they don't care, but, whatever their intention was at the time, it wasn't the same as what you had for yourself,
Yeah.
right? And again, too, when you're not forgiving that person, you're already cemented to the other person, right?
Oh,
Keeps you connected, right? It keeps you connected to that other person.
that's a really good way of saying that and pointing that out.
So
Yeah.
that's why, again, forgiveness is a gift to you because it's for yourself. It's not for the other person.
Yeah, I love that you said it like that. That's perfect because that's true. We keep that attachment because it's cemented. I like the way you put that. Yeah.
You can
Hmm.
thank Fred for that.
Huh?
I said you can thank Fred for that.
Oh. No, but that's what you
Right.
learn and internalize, and that's how you live your life now. So that's great. Oh my gosh, that's I'm gonna remember that. If somebody ever says anything to me like that again, like why should I forgive them? I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna say Myra said. Oh, but yeah, share something that,
Yeah.
yeah, that one of your clients experienced and going through your coaching program and what kind of changes they've experienced.
Oh gosh, there's so many.
The
Um,
one that is stands out to you because it was maybe very drastic or, very like life-changing for them. Not that none of them, your other clients, wasn't life-changing, but sometimes there's just one or two clients that it changes their whole world.
yeah, I think there was one client I worked with for about maybe 2 years, maybe even 3 years. Every so often I'll still talk to her though. And she was going through a hard time with a divorce.
Mm.
She had children, and um, the husband had left, and he, had an affair, which is, I mean, kind of common. I mean, nowadays, right? I mean, I hear a lot of those stories, and it was really devastating for her, and it was hard for her to even move on. But through going through the process, and again, too, sometimes when we're going through the process and doing the work at the same time, it can be a little bit harder because your feelings are so involved, and it's like it's very easy to go down the rabbit hole, and
Yeah.
to pull yourself back out of it. But when you can do that, it makes your process that much more, um, I guess, in that sense, more for them to have inner peace when they go through this.
Yeah.
A lot of times it is hard, and then they'll go back and forth. And so, with this forgiveness project, you'll notice that a lot of the skills that we teach, although we teach it in an order, it will go back to different steps of the process because of the way we are processing it for ourselves. And everybody is going to be different on which steps that
Yeah.
they get stuck on, yeah, or that they want to get through, or having to understand that skill. Does that
Yeah,
make
that's
sense
true
when I
because
say
we're
that?
no, that's perfect because we're all at different levels of understanding and, different levels of pain and heartache. So, yeah. Oh, that's perfect. So this forgiveness um coaching program that you have, is it like does it have specific number of steps or just is it like a process that you take someone through?
So normally we like to have once a week meetings, and it's for 7 weeks. So we'll meet for a total of 14 hours. So again, 2 hours each week for 7 weeks. Yeah, totaling 14 hours.
Oh, okay.
And we just go through the process of forgiveness. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. It sounds amazing. And do they normally your coaching clients, do they have work that they need to do on their own too after your coaching session?
So once we meet for the week, um, we'll have that like session, and then I'll give them a little bit of homework to practice, right? So they practice throughout the week. So again, we want to make these habits, right?
Mhm.
Because again, if we learn CPR, right, for the one time,
Yeah.
are we able to just do CPR when we really need it? No, we still kind of got to practice, or we got to review the pamphlet in order to say, okay, this is what I remember, right? 30 compressions, 2 breaths, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
we have to remember these things and review it every so often. And that's what happens also when we take this workshop. And so when we're doing the process and learning and having this become a habit, it's so much more easier to practice it, you know. And I'm not
Yeah.
saying practice makes perfect, because practice makes progress, right? I mean, we want to
Yeah.
get better at what we're doing and how we handle things.
Yeah,
So,
we need progress. Okay, yes. So we want progress. We need progress. I think women too, like when we don't make progress, it makes us really crazy. Like we get frustrated and like it makes things harder to deal with when you're frustrated and just things are not going. And
Yeah.
so
And that's
forgiveness
how
is
we have
so,
to have self-forgiveness, right? We need to forgive ourselves.
yeah. So
We
do
put a lot of
you?
pressure on ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. Why? Why do we do that? I mean, I know why, but
And
I
again, who's carrying the weight of that, right?
Yeah, exactly. We got to let that go. So how often do you practice this? Because I'm pretty sure you have to actually do it yourself on a continual basis as well.
Oh,
Because, yeah, is it
every day, every
something?
minute.
Yeah, I think that's important to say because at first, I was thinking like when you were talking about your program, it's like, oh, I mean, even though I know, I mean, I've lived life for a long time, but sometimes you wonder like, oh, if I forgive one time this person, am I all done? Do I not have to ever forgive them again or, just let it go myself? But speak to that a little bit because what if you're working really hard to forgive someone who really did you wrong, and then after time you do let go? Like, is that a done deal? Like, you are always gonna be like, okay, fine with that person? Because a lot of it is family members, and sometimes we have no choice. We have to be
When
around
it's
them.
reoccurring, right? And it's a pattern in our life. And
Yeah.
so even thinking about that, when it becomes like that, and again, a lot of it, one of the things that we say is, we forgive, but not forget, right? So
Mm.
again, those are two different things because when we do forgive, we have accepted what's happened, right? But at the same time, we're not going to forget because if the situation were to come up again, right, we don't want to be blindsided by what's happening. Yeah.
Okay, that is perfect that you said that because you made the distinction between the two, the forgiving and the forgetting part.
Because
Yeah,
a lot
'cause
of times, right, growing up, forgive and forget. That's what we've learned, right? Forgive and forget.
uh-huh.
We don't
That's
want to forget. We want to forgive and accept and let go, but we also don't want to forget what happened because, again, if it were to happen again, we want to handle it better the next time.
yeah. That's a really good point. Thank you for saying that and mentioning that. Yeah. Oh my gosh, this is so good. Okay, I love this. Okay, what I want you to do now is I want you to tell everyone who's watching this who is interested in learning more about your program and your coaching that you do because we need to forgive a lot. Sometimes a lot of people, sometimes ourselves for the mistakes we make. And that can be really, really hard. Believe me, I know. I've struggled with forgiving myself for all the crazy things I've done. And yeah.
And it's always
So,
a work in progress, right?
yes, it
I'm
is.
still working on it.
Yeah. And but what's interesting though is that it's good to have someone to talk to because not everyone in their family or friend circle has someone that they can share certain things that are really confidential or really painful. So sometimes people do need a coach like you to work with and you know get help with. And
Yeah,
so
sometimes it is
tell us.
easier talking to a stranger, but I do have a few friends that are like, "No, I'd rather just talk to you." They know they're covered under HIPAA, so they're not going. They know I'm not going to say anything, and so
Yeah, the confidentiality. Yeah, exactly.
and a lot of times too, I don't even tell people like, "Oh, that's a client," or you're not supposed to do that anyway. But I don't.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll pretend like, I don't say anything, but if they come and start talking to me about it, I mean, what else can I do? But at the same time, you know, I just, okay. But as long as if I see somebody that I know and I just say hi, and then I won't say like how I know them or anything like that. So yeah, even being a client is pretty, what is that, confidential.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because word can spread fast. Mhm. Especially with all our online avenues. Okay, so tell us how we can, or anyone listening can, or watching, can get in touch with you. Like, how would you want them to get in touch with you if they're
Okay, well,
interested?
you can email me at Myra at mindfulmentoringandcoaching.com, or you can go onto the website. I have the website www.mindfulmentoringandcoaching.com. Usually I'll have workshops posted there. You
Okay.
can always send me a message or email me through that. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Well, I'll put all of that information in the show notes too. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank
This
you.
is wonderful. I love it. And thank you so much for being here and sharing all of your wisdom and knowledge and all the things. I think you're just fascinating.
Thank you. Very nervous, hot mess, but it's okay. Like
Nah,
I
it's
think we all
okay.
get like that though, right? I mean, anytime.
Yeah.
I mean, even
But you know
before
what?
each group, I get nervous, because
But
I'm like,
that just means you're doing a good thing. Yeah. If you weren't doing a good thing, you'd be like, ah, okay, whatever. I'll just go and do it, and your heart's not there. You wouldn't have any reason to be nervous, right? Because it's like, oh, okay, whatever. Yeah.
good point. And people have told me that too, and but I still feel like, oh, my heart.
You got a big heart, that's why. Yeah. This is awesome.
But thank
Well,
you for having me here today. I enjoyed
absolutely.
talking with you.
Yeah, me too. I love it. I love the work that you're doing too, especially from when you were working with preschoolers and then you were working with the senior citizens and then, now you have your coaching and I think you're just like you're covering all the different age groups in the world. That's good. You're
Well,
getting
it's
a
neat too because this work, I mean, it's so universal and that, any age can actually use it.
yeah.
So it's just, gearing it up for your audience or who you're working with, right? I mean, preschoolers can learn this, and even as adults, right? We can ingrain this into our kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're our future, so we want them to have more forgiveness and be authentic about themselves.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, you've got some wisdom going on from all of your experience, that's for sure. Oh my goodness. Oh, thank you so much. All right. All of you folks that are watching this video, make sure you go check out Myra. She's just so much love. She's got a lot of love oozing from every part of her. So, all right. Thanks, Myra. You
Thank
have a great
you.
day.
You too.
Aloha.